Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We're here on day 4 of our LAC Summit, a whole week of sharing and learning. And it's so nice to see people back again and some new faces as well. Welcome to this session. Before we jump in with this session, which I'm really excited about, I just want to take a moment to tell you a little bit about this summit and why we're doing it. So my name is Emma Burns, and I am the Professional Learning Coordinator at Consilience Learning, which is the organization that runs the Learning Analytics Collaborative and is sponsoring this event. And as you can see, the Learning Analytics Collaborative is a really, really great opportunity for people to come together and share and learn from our shared experiences. So if you're not already aware, I just want to tell you a little bit about what we do. And if you have any questions after this, please reach out. We'd be more than happy to give you a demo call. Basically, we are a service and a platform for schools that want to use learning analytics to improve and transform. And our mission is really to support you to build cultures of data use. So the way we do that is we help schools to collect all the data that they have in their school, not just academic data. We also do demographic data, well-being data, anything you have. And then we collaborate with you to figure out the best ways to present that data as information. Then we teach users how to use that information so they can gain insight about your learners, because we believe that that really has an impact on student outcomes, on teaching and learning, and on your school in general. So we have over 100 pre-built visualizations in the platform, and every single one of them has been customized to answer questions that schools have. We've got dashboards for teachers who want to see their class and multiple assessments in one place. We've got dashboards for specialists like EAL or learning support specialists who want to see the impact of their interventions. We've got dashboards for administrators and board level, so high-level aggregate data so you can really see your school's progress over time in different domains. And we have dashboards for parents and students to see individual students' learning progress over time. So we have over 50 schools in our collaborative, and they're from all over the world. And we're all about sharing the learning. When one school develops a visualization or a protocol for talking about data, we share that information with other schools so that everyone can learn and everyone can grow. And one of the ways that we do that is with our virtual summit, which is such a great opportunity for schools to share where they're at. I'm really excited to present our next speaker to you, Gitane Reveilleau. Gitane and I met at Learning 2 in Paris a few months ago, and it was so refreshing for me to hear her talk and see the way that she thinks about data and uses data in a different way. So a lot of us have been talking about how we're using learning analytics and how we're analyzing students' grades. And I think you're going to be really excited to find a whole new way to think about and use data to help your school to develop and grow. So thanks so much, G. Thanks for being here and for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let me share my screen. Can I replace your share? Is that okay?
Of course.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm super happy to see these familiar faces and people who support my work in the session today. Thank you. So the reason why I wanted to do this session with you is because I believe, as Emma just said, that there are different ways for us to use data, and there are different ways for us to collect data in schools that we could be, in fact, missing out on because they're so simple and so low cost, and yet they can bring such incredible results. And so this session today is going to dig a little deeper into qualitative data that's gathered through human-centered design. And before we begin, and before I introduce myself a little bit more to you guys, I want to do an exercise. I want to propose an exercise that I believe is one of the best ways to get into human-centered design and understand it right away. So let me pass this. So we're going to do a zooming in exercise, which I'm sure all of you here might have already experienced in a different capacity. This is a Project Zero visible thinking routine that asks you to look into a small portion of a photo and start thinking what this photo is about. It asks you to observe so you can develop a hypothesis. So I'm going to show you a small piece of a photo, and I'm going to ask you to type your comments. Actually, no, we're a small enough group that I think you can just unmute yourself and tell me after a few moments what you think this photo is about. So let's get started. So, and also you might be able to zoom in from your computer. I know that if you're using a Mac, for example, you could just use Command plus, and I believe with a Microsoft device, you could do the same, Control plus, and that will help you zoom in into that small little piece that you're seeing right there. And I'm going to give you a few seconds to think about this. Not a whole minute, but the timer helps. Okay, I know it's a very limited view, so at this point you can unmute yourselves and tell me, what do you see?
I don't want to say because I'll be embarrassed in a minute when you show us the rest of it.
Oh, come on, Stephen. Of course you can tell us.
Kind of looks like an underwater welder.
Okay, interesting. Any other takes?
It may be like a firefighter. I see like smoke or something.
Interesting perspective.
A dog in a helmet.
I
Okay.
felt like it was some kind of astronaut in training for something unusual.
Oh, interesting. Okay, let's see a little bit more. It's a little bit more, literally. Let's see if this helps. And I know it's dark, but maybe now this is going to give Stephen a new idea. Any new things? Okay, I'll show you a little bit more.
I'm with Rachel about something like something in training.
Yeah. Okay, does that confirm your hypothesis? Has it changed your thinking in any way?
Now it looks like someone cleaning a toxic area.
Exactly. Cleaning up after a disaster, I was going to say.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Sadly, we do have a very short time for the session, so I'm going to need to show you what it is. So this, dressed for Mars, space engineer Pablo de Leon tests a prototype spacesuit at NASA's Kennedy Space Center, where fine soil and fans simulate conditions on the red planet. So good thinking, Emma, about smoke or something like that. It kind of looks like it.
Not a firefighter though.
Not a firefighter. And good thinking, Rachel, about an astronaut in training. Well done. So one of the reasons why I love this exercise is because sometimes we're so inundated with data that we don't take the time to observe it enough and to really pay attention to the details. And so this forces you to look into the detail because you don't really have that much else to look at. And that then helps you develop new hypotheses. And I do believe that this is an excellent primer for human-centered design. And in today's session, I'm hoping that by the end of it, you will be able to explain the key, very key principles of human-centered design, as well as identify and potentially apply 3 HCD tools that you can use with your school right away. So, why human-centered design? Well, in fact, this is a metaphor for the approach of design thinking and human-centered design, because it helps us withhold immediate judgments, and it helps us also develop that curiosity and the need for an iterative approach to go back and refine our ideas about something. And HCD really requires a shift from jumping to solutions right away to deeply understanding the problem from the user's perspective. So this means that we need to resist the urge to fix problems right away. And the role of design, as we know, is to impact the human experience. And so in the context of K through 12 schools, HCD can help us reimagine our schools to improve the quality of the user experience. It's about finding the music and cranking up the volume. So before I tell you a little bit more about this, I want to just share some of my motivations to talk about this. So besides the flag collection you see over there and the reasons why one might have to, to move abroad and seek different citizenships, I have worked at different international schools, and in the past 11 years, I've worked with EdTech. But before that, I was an EAL educator. And before that, I was an assistant producer. And before that, I was an executive assistant. And before that, I was a language teacher. And with this path, there are important skills that intersect in my career path that create a through line in my personal development. And I think you will agree with me that these are skills that are required on a day-to-day basis for this profession and the ones that I've had previously. But what I do believe is that this has honed my ability to deeply empathize with a wide range of users and to encourage others to follow a similar path. So I really do hope that this presentation today inspires you all to explore and embrace the human-centered design path. So the reality is that human-centered design really extends beyond a single problem. It cultivates a mindset. Once you start thinking like a designer, it's very hard to turn back. Once you start thinking about ways that you can dig deeper and empathize with the people you're working with, then your problem solving in general takes a different route. It's a very powerful shift in perspectives, in my opinion. And HCD really asks us to focus on the real human needs within our schools. So it's not about being right, but it is about having a willingness to fail up and embrace a yes and mentality. So with this being a very highly collaborative approach to problem solving, with a profound respect for diverse perspectives within the community, it's like puzzle pieces that fit together to reveal a bigger picture that is about creating solutions that are empathetic and inclusive, that are relevant and contextual, and that are tailored to the context of the school. The user experience of school, as we know, is unequivocally multifaceted and wicked. Like we say wicked because you have all sorts of thorny problems. We have problems that we can't simply solve. And so HCD helps us by providing some tools and strategies that we can use for creative problem solving, empowering us to effect positive change in the educational spaces we're in. So these could be for anything, really. These tools that I'm going to show you and we're going to think about now, they can be used for anything that you can consider a problem within a school, from reimagining schedules to improving instructional goals and even introducing new school policies. It has the potential to shine a light on those that are often overlooked, like introverts, students with learning disabilities, and support staff. Because what or who you place at the center of your work matters. It sends you off in a particular direction. On the practical side, human-centered design is not linear and can be summarized into 3 or 4, in fact, main phases that encapsulate its core principles and iterative nature. So first, as you might have heard before, if you've done any sort of design thinking or exercise, we empathize. We start with the empathy piece, which is when we observe how people behave, how they interact, and how they react in the environment. We look for patterns, we look for trends, and commonalities within the data. And this step is critical in order to be able to find underlying problems that we haven't even considered until the present moment. Context is king. Understanding the environment and the circumstances where the solution will be used is as important as understanding the user themselves. So we need to consider social, cultural, technological, and organizational factors that might influence the design or the solution that we're looking for. We need to challenge assumptions and dig deeper into why certain behaviors or pain points exist in the first place. And great human-centered design goes beyond observing what users do. We ask probing questions to uncover their motivations, emotions, and underlying whys. We need to engage with the users. We need to conduct interviews, shadow experiences, or organize surveys to hear directly from the stakeholders. We are all very good at creating surveys at our school and at our schools, and we're all very good about collecting data. But this perhaps will encourage us to think of different ways where we might be able to collect this qualitative data to help us rethink solutions. Here, we move into the ideation phase where we brainstorm freely, encouraging quantity over quality to open up a wide range of possible solutions. And we also build off of others' ideas. We collaborate to expand the ideas based on the group input. We also use constraints to inspire creativity. We know that introducing real-world constraints, which we have, such as time, budgets, and resources, will challenge the thinking and promote practical innovation. We prioritize ideas by selecting those that align with the needs uncovered in the empathize phase that we looked at before. And these ideas need to be feasibly prototyped, which will come back later. And when we go into the prototype phase, we start thinking about low fidelity and low cost models. So this is where, if you've ever done a design thinking exercise, you might have built a wallet for a friend or a backpack. This used to be the kit that used to go to all different schools regarding design thinking. It's a great idea to really help students and adults think about designing for others. But really, we're talking about designing low-stakes solutions to start and test so that you can refine. So these prototypes are going to help us, are going to allow us to test key assumptions and get feedback early. Here, we don't focus on perfection. We create something fast, test it, and we get ready to revise as soon as possible. And we engage the stakeholders in the building, in the testing. We involve them early in the prototyping process to get real-time feedback, to see what works and what doesn't. And we watch how the users are engaging with the prototype, and we take note of pain points, surprises, and insights. We gather feedback along the way as much as possible so that helps us understand what needs to change to move forward. And as I said, we refine, we iterate, and we test again in real contexts. So we place the refined prototype in real-life settings to see how it holds up in practice and continue refining. So the iterative cycle as a whole looks like this. We empathize, we ideate, we prototype, and we test. And we keep going until we found a solution that helps us solve, but not really helps us perhaps appease some. So on the practical side, I wanted to show you, this is really a quick overview of the process. And what I really wanted to show you are some of the tools that I have personally used and have vetted over the years for this human-centered design approach, which I truly believe can make a difference in schools. And all of these tools that I'm showing you right now are low cost, quick, and easy. And so the only thing that's dedicated is dedication of time. And I would say probably making sure that the time here is allocated in a way that allows you to actually engage with the data and then start refining your solutions. Because to simply do an exercise and then turn away from it will not help our schools, and we know that. So the first exercise is something that you might have heard before, might have used before. It's probably one of the most common mapping exercises. that is done, and it's called an empathy map. And how do we actually use an empathy map? Well, it helps us uncover what a person is actually experiencing in a school setting, and it can be used to better understand our students and our staff and everybody else that's involved in our school environment. As you can see here, it usually involves 4 quadrants, and the saying in each one of them might be a little different. It might say says, does, and hears, or thinks, and it might not say exactly the same things, but these are the underlying ideas that you're looking for. And so how would you use something like this? Well, you would think of a user in your environment, and you would start thinking from their perspective. You would step into their shoes and say, oh, this person is going through this problem. What could they be seeing that is actually making them more worried about it? What could they be thinking, or how is that making them feel? What are they doing in response to this problem? And what are they hearing about it from others, for example, that is influencing whatever it is that they're doing? And so to do something like this, one of the best ways, oh, and in fact, I wanted to show you, this is an actual example from our school from 2018, when we were re-examining our professional learning beliefs. And so a colleague and I, we guided our learning leadership team into really using an empathy map to think about what teachers might actually be thinking about in terms of our professional learning. And to do that, we use something called user personas, which is what I wanted to tell you next. It's another tool that is very useful in this process. A user persona really is a fictionalized, generalized representation of someone in your school. So this could be someone that you know is going through a particular, or either going through something in particular and needing a solution for, or simply thinking about any character in your school that could help you make decisions for the solution that you're looking to develop. And so in our schools, these could be the different stakeholders. This could be even the cafeteria staff. This could be the people coming in and delivering things into the school. A user persona can be anybody that has any interaction with the school. And so, for example, for that context that I showed you earlier for the reimagining the professional beliefs at our school, we had these 2 user personas, which I'm sure you all here will have heard, which is the been there, done that, John, and the new to the school, Mary. So these 2 teachers with demographics then helped the groups sit together and map out some of those things that then would allow them to start thinking of a prototype of a new professional learning belief statement, for example, in this particular case. Now, we'll look into user personas a little bit more later if time allows, but I also want to show you another idea that you might want to consider. A process map, for example, visually represents the steps and the flow of a specific process. It helps you understand the sequence of actions, decision points, and the potential areas for improvement. So in a school setting, for example, creating a process map can be a very powerful way to analyze how different processes are being held or being managed. And in this particular case here, I'm giving you an example of trying to create a process map to visualize the flow of emails sent to a family throughout a typical school year. So in the summer, in June and July, how many emails are sent from which office? And then as that goes on, how does it continue to develop? And this is a real example that comes from Michigan State University. And there's a case study here. If you're interested, you can read that QR code there. I can send it to you later, where it can be in the resources here. In this case, they explain all of the process that Michigan State University used to map out all of the emails sent to their students and trying to understand why there were so many cracks in their communication. Now, something else that could be helpful. Oh, I'm missing an image there. I'll show you over here. This is the image. Oh, my image broke. I'm so sorry. Anyway, a journey map, as you can see here, allows you to capture the key steps or stages in the user experience from their first engagement to the completion of the process. And it highlights their emotional states. It also highlights pain points, needs, and opportunities for improvement along the way. And so I wanted to give you an example of, imagine trying to follow the journey of a student going through the lunch line every day. So, for example, in this case, if you think of the timeline and if you think of the key stages, first you have the student trying to approach the cafeteria, then you have the student entering the lunch line, then choosing the food options, then the interaction with the cafeteria staff, and lastly, paying for lunch. And this could go on. The next step could be trying to find a place to sit, trying to find friends to sit with, enjoying the food, bringing the tray back to the place wherever that is held. So you could continue thinking of all of the stages of this very small moment in a student life, for example. And what I wanted you to do now, if we have the time, Emma, do we have a few minutes?
We've
Still?
got about 5 minutes. Yeah.
Great. I don't know if we'll be able to do it, but the idea is that I thought that together we could try to create the journey map for this student and just thinking about the emotions that they might be going through, right? Shall we try?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, you know what we could do? Let's do it together because we're a small group, so we don't need a breakout room. What I'll do is I'll just exit this for a second here. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to grab this link. You guys can open it if you like, but I can manipulate it here with you. Yes, and then I'm going to get this out. And I can share my screen here. Thank you for your patience, everyone. All right, so for us to think about this particular case, I have created a user persona, and our persona is Alex, who is 14 years old. He's in 9th grade, and he's the only child from a middle-income family. Alex has been at the school since 7th grade, but he still struggles with some aspects of fitting in socially. He tends to keep to himself, and he has a small, close-knit group of friends. He often feels anxious in crowded or unfamiliar situations. We know that given this sort of personality, this person might be overwhelmed by noise and crowd. We know that this person might have decision fatigue. With so many different food options and the pressure to choose quickly, he might feel paralyzed. And we also know that there might be a lack of clear communication and social uncertainty over where he's going to sit next. So he might be in the lunch line, but thinking the whole time, who is he going to be sitting with, right? So here is the journey mapping that I wanted to show you earlier. This is the image. I think you guys can see it now. So our first touch point here is approaching the cafeteria, right? And the second one would be entering the lunch line. The third one would be choosing food options. And in order to be quick here and be able to use our 5 minutes well, I won't be placing these in. But now we can think about where Alex and how Alex might be feeling as he goes through all of these different steps, right? So let me get a tool. I'll show you where are my tools from Canva. Oh, I can only comment. Can you guys edit? Let's see. I thought I had made this an edit for everybody, but clearly I didn't. Let me stop
Like
sharing.
people can only comment only.
You can only comment. Okay. Well, let me do this again from the right place. Oh, thanks for your patience. And no, that's not the one that I wanted to share. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. We can talk through it, perhaps.
Yeah, right, we can. I mean, it would be nice to have the image in front of you. And so, yeah. Oh, here it is. Okay. All right. No. Anyway, you can see it, right? I'm so sorry. Sometimes these
Still,
things
it's still loading, but oh no, it's just disappeared.
disappear.
Yeah.
When I was trying to share my screen just now.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to this one, even if we can't do anything with it, at least we can see it. So let's look into the first one. What is the stakeholder thinking or feeling when he's approaching the cafeteria, knowing what we know about Alex?
I mean, I guess he'd be feeling quite anxious, I would imagine.
Right. And maybe, I mean, maybe he's hungry, maybe he's excited to get to the lunch line, right? This is approaching the cafeteria. This is before he's in the lunch line per se, right?
He's probably curious about what there is going to be for lunch.
Exactly. Probably curious about what's in front of him. Okay, and what is the action or solution? Well, he's approaching the cafeteria. That's the action. Now, I could say here, maybe if I were to think of an emoji to put in here, I would say maybe it's I'm curious about what I'm going to find ahead of me, right? Then on touch point 2, he's entering the lunch line. At this point, how is he thinking or feeling?
He could be impatient because he wants to get the lunch he's curious about.
Yeah, to be impatient. He could start perhaps feeling a little more anxious now because he's going to get into his decision fatigue, right? He knows he's going to get there and he's not going to know what to eat, which is the next point. So that could be bringing him down a little bit more. And then on touch point 3, so if we were thinking of this going down here, on touch point 3, he is now he's choosing his food. So here it's possibly real anxious and really trying his best to not overwhelm others in the lunch line too. So trying his best to just get his food as quickly as possible and leave, right? And then we have interaction with cafeteria staff, which we don't know, could be positive, could be negative. And lastly, paying for lunch. Now, I know we need to finish this, so I'm just going to rush us through for a second. So if we think about this particular student, this is one student in the school, but this is one student that potentially represents a significant slice of students. You probably have lots of students who feel anxious, not because of lunch, but that's one additional thing that they need to worry about on a daily basis. So what would be a prototype for him or for us in this school to make Alex's life a little bit better? Can you think of one thing that could make his life just a little bit easier?
If we advertised the lunch choices at the front of
So you could have an advert, you can have a clear signage, right, in front of the cafeteria. You could, as I've seen different schools do, you could actually go through the lunch options in school, in class, before they go to lunch, so that there are no bottlenecks, right? I mean, there are different things we can do, and even small changes make a difference for the user experience. And the reason why I wanted to do this very quick exercise with you is to really think about the number of different things that might be happening in school that we might not even be thinking about because we're so focused on the super wicked, thorny problems that we have to deal. But these tools here could certainly be helpful in the long run. And I'm just going to go back to my presentation very quickly here to show you the very last part that I have for you today. Yes. Zoom, where are you? Let's share the screen. And here. So what I'm also proposing for you, I mean, you'll see next some of the resources that I'm sharing, that in each one of these cards that I prepared for you for other tools, you have the what and why you might want to use this, the who, the key players, when and where, so possible scenarios where this particular tool might be helpful. And then you also have the how, so how do you facilitate it? And in some of them, I'm also preparing, I have prepared a template for you that you can use and make copies of. And lastly, you can even think about how generative AI might help you in the process, as in it could help you front load some of these things beforehand. For example, you could use it to create user personas so that you can run these exercises with your staff. And so the tools that are not showing here right now, here are, here you have a QR code that you can scan where you're going to find all of them. And I would highly recommend taking a look and thinking about how these could be useful for you in discussions with with your leadership team, or just, simply using it with students as well. There are lots of tools here that could very well be used in students in different contexts, and it could be helpful to bring up some interesting discussions with them about the user needs in school. And so lastly, I wanted to say in the reflect and share slide, I actually wanted to ask you before you go, what's your big takeaway? Or if you want to share any questions that remain that I could think about when developing new workshops in the future.
Thank you so much, G. So much to think about. And for me, the takeaway is always putting the user at the beginning, something like, oh, the line at the cafeteria. We've all had that problem, that the line at the cafeteria is bottlenecked. And how often do we stop and think about, well, who's in that line and why are they causing problems, and so it's such a really timely reminder to think about that and think about the user. So thank you. I'm sure other people have comments and questions as well. Feel free to put them in the chat or unmute rather.
I think the versatility of these approaches is really interesting. How many different applications they can apply, they can be used for, and just sets you off thinking about all the potential they have. So thank you for sharing.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Nikki. I see you said you loved the session. Thank you.
Yeah, it was great. I had a question. Aside from hiring you as a personal consultant for a school, where could schools go to learn more about this topic, specifically in K-12 schools? Like, are there specific books that you felt helped you in your learning journey about this, or can you give us some advice there?
Absolutely. So yeah, in fact, John Nash, who I'm sure some of you here already follow on LinkedIn, he has a book that was written from a leadership perspective about design thinking in schools that was really helpful to me. I really enjoyed and learned a lot from. And I think, Emma, if it's okay later, can you share resources with the session, with the recording? Is that okay?
Yeah, no worries.
I can list a few different books. This one and the other one is Creative Acts for Curious People. It's a book that I absolutely loved, and that talked about a range of different ideas that you can use with people in order to kind of gather these deeper insights. And this one is from the Stanford D School, and I think would also be helpful here. I have also taken a course that I enjoyed from IDEO that's about human-centered design in systems thinking. I'm happy to refer to that one too. And I'm happy to help as well. Let me know if I can consult for your school.
Awesome, thanks.
I'll give a plug as well. We have a talk tomorrow with Dr. Chandra McGowan, who's at the Canadian International School in Ho Chi Minh City. And she's also going to be looking at different ways of collecting qualitative data and using that to look at a school's values and things. So I think there's going to be a lot of crossover there too.
Yeah.
So check that one out.
Well, thank you so much for your time. And I'm sure this was a little rushed all around. I'm sorry for my technical difficulties, but I really appreciate your time being here. And please be in touch if I can help in any way.
Stop the recording.